So I think I'm going to start without the projector anyways, because it seems to not be working. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming here and take the time, to learn a little bit more about guitar. And I will be talking about three important concepts that will help us practice better, because we all know that in order to play good in public, we got to practice really well in private. If there is a learning phrase that I like to use a lot is that everything that we practice in private is going to be rewarding in public. Doesn't matter what it is. Right? So depending, we are going to work on the quality of that for our practicing time. And I also would like to talk to you about improvements, because everybody here in this room, I'm sure everybody, all of us are guitarists, right? How many people are guitarists? So everybody, with the exception of one or two, but of course they're welcome to see it as well. So we all want to improve, right? We are all here because we want to get to the next level. And improvements, you can't get to the next level if you don't change certain things that you're doing. Why do I say this? Because if you're getting to a certain level of playing, and you're still practicing, you have a certain practice routine that you do for a long time, but you're still in the same level that you're playing, that only means that the practicing routine that you have is not working to make you better. Because if you decide to take different kinds of actions in your practicing routine, this will immediately influence your improvements. So for me, improvements means change. That's the main concept I would like to talk to you guys. Improvements means change. By the way, I highly recommend that you write these things down if you have a piece of paper. I don't have a handout because research shows that if you write things down, you remember them easier. So I could give you everything printed, but you will just read it and will not absorb all the information. So if you don't want to write, it's fine too. Right? So the first concept, improvement means change. I don't care what you're going to change. We're going to change something. We are always changing. Even if we find a practicing routine that works for us, we are always changing, because guess what? If you do it for a long period of time, it gets old. It's like when people go to the gym. If they have just one routine that they do, they start to reach a plateau, and it doesn't work anymore after that. So we were talking about change. So I would like to actually ask you certain kinds of questions. I want to make this a little bit more. You guys also talk, not only me, and so feel free to raise your hands and say something if you want to say, this is all of us getting some results at the same time. So, the first question that I want to just throw out there is, what is it that makes somebody an outstanding performer? What is it that makes somebody play really, really good? I wanted to focus for a second on that. It's a very important question. I'm sure if I asked every person here, they would come up with different answers, right? Or maybe a little similar. So I would like to hear some of them. So in your opinion, what makes a good performer?
Confidence.
Confidence, okay, that's good. I like that.
Preparation.
Preparation, great.
Practice performing.
Practice performing, okay, so you're talking about the technique, so how to practice, okay.
Energy.
Energy, yes.
Exude energy.
Absolutely, yes.
Creativity, I would say.
Yes, yeah,
They're convinced in what they're performing.
yes, which is like confidence a little bit, or you're certain of what you're performing is the right way to do. What else?
You can use their nerves to their advantage.
Yes, you can use your adrenaline to get your peak performance ability, for sure. Right, so we see that there are many things that we have to focus on. We have to focus on confidence, we have to focus on practicing in a certain way, on creativity, on many aspects. Now, if we try to focus on these things all simultaneously, what happens with this? Yes, that was exactly what I was looking for. Our mind just like goes, because we get overwhelmed, So my question throughout my entire performance my life, I've been asking a question like, what is it that if I choose to work on, just one thing, one single thing, if I could just work on one thing, would put all these things that you guys thought in place, would affect possibly everything that you guys said. But as I said, we can choose, if I could choose just one thing, what would this thing be? That would change all these things that you guys said simultaneously. And that's the kind of question that I would like also to talk to you about. And the answer for this question that I've been researching is the way that you think, your psychology. I believe your psychology influences your performance much more than anything you're gonna hear. Any cool trick you learn, any, you know, like, oh, I see this, I like, I'm gonna apply it, anything. Because the way you think is gonna make you act in a different way. So we heard here concepts like energy, confidence, you know, you have to be certain what you're doing. So these concepts are more like resources. They are not so much skills, if you think it through. They're resources. And what's a resource? It's a source of something a source of energy. I like very much what Leandro pointed out, because for me it boils down to, if you have energy, you do all of these things because it's automatically. Because I don't know if have you ever, for example, woke up one day and you didn't sleep very well. Imagine that you didn't have a good night and woke up and you felt pretty lousy there, oh man. And then you had a bunch of stuff to do. You had like a list of things. And you said, you know, I'm so excited to start doing things. Was that what you said? You probably say, oh, I can't believe another Monday or another day, you know. So, but I'm sure that you had other experiences as well where you were so full of energy, you slept well, you woke up strong, and you were like, you didn't even have anything to do on the day. But because you had a lot of energy, you decided, you know, I want to do something. I want to play the guitar, I want to do this, I want to do that, just because you had energy. You didn't have a schedule there in front of you, but you had the resource that caused you to take action forward. So for me, resources are much more important than any gadgets or any trick that you're going to learn. And so that's the way that you think. Nice. I would love some comments about this. I'm running through a bunch of things that I have in my head. You guys understand? Pretty much what I'm saying. If you don't understand, just stop me. Sure. Another thing that is very interesting to think about the way that we think is that most of our actions are unconscious. 90% of our actions are unconscious. For example, if I walk here a little bit, I'm walking, but I'm not thinking, oh, I have to put my right leg here. Now I have to shift the weight to this leg and put to the other thing. If I think about everything like this, I'm going to be walking like a robot. Because these things are not supposed to be conscious, they should be unconscious. So 90% of everything we do, everything is unconscious, naturally. Playing shouldn't be different, it should be exactly the same. And is that what we do? No. We try to be conscious of everything. We say, no, we have to use that finger over there, and because of this, no, but the sound too, no, but you have the dynamics, no, but there is all of this. And then pretty soon, you're like overwhelmed, and your mind does what you were saying before, like you get all, you know, all crazy in that situation. So, so for me, I usually do different ways of practicing for every practicing routine that I have. So if we talk about practicing routines, there is not just one secret formula to making you really good, but there are a bunch of those. So one day I may feel like practicing using a certain technique, or another day I may feel like practicing using another technique, and another. So there are a bunch of those techniques that we can use in our practicing time that are going to help us get better. Today we're going to talk about 3 of those. That's the purpose of our talk. So to recapitulate a little bit what I said before moving on to these 3 main techniques that I like to talk. We said that improvement means change, right? Improvements definitely change. We said that nothing is going to influence more our playing than the way we think about our psychology. And we talked about that the way that we think is not, doesn't need to be technical, but it needs to be resourceful. And resourceful, I mean, you need to have a lot of energy. I may ask you, how do you get a lot of energy? How do you feel like motivated to practice? Well, there are a bunch of things we could do to do that, and we can talk after. I talk in the ends of the section if you're interested in that. But for now, just have that in mind. So we need resourcefulness. And we talk about also that for every practicing routine that you have, you've got to be changing your approach. Otherwise, you will reach a plateau and you don't learn anymore. So we're going to be talking about these three ones that I chose for today. So let's imagine we are practicing here. So I'm going to get my guitar. First one of this technique approaches that I like to have is called questions. So if you want to write this down, it's number one over there, and write down questions. I believe questions are very powerful. They direct what we focus on at any time. So if I'm playing a passage of something, were there, okay, sounds cool. But if I don't ask certain kinds of, if I don't ask a question, where I am, I'm not gonna get to the next level. So what questions should I ask, for example? The first obvious one. You guys have any ideas for questions that I could ask myself? After playing something like this?
How's my posture?
How's my posture? Okay, could be, okay, well, how's my posture? Okay, great, fix my posture, because by asking the question, you immediately answer it, even if you don't have the answer, because your brain looks for answers all the time. So that's one question you could ask. More questions. What else could I ask?
How is the phrasing?
How is the phrasing? Great, nice. How is the phrasing is going to give me some answers about how it is, but we are looking for improvements, right? It's like how is my posture is the same thing. How things it is. If you're looking for improvements, what kinds of questions should we ask ourselves? Instead of how, what can we use? Or how? But how can I make my phrasing better? We're looking, again, questions are powerful, and we don't look at the real meaning of questions. Because if you say, oh, how is the phrasing is good, I would say. But it doesn't mean it cannot get better. And again, we're talking about improvement. Improvement means change. So how can I improve my phrasing? And then I'm going to have, okay, some answers. So in your opinion, what could I do to improve my phrasing?
In different ways.
Okay, be specific. What way?
Certain passage in the song.
This passage that I just played. I'll play one more time. That's it. How can I improve my phrasing?
I would listen to somebody who I really like and see how they play.
Okay, that's good. So I could do some research. But if I'm practicing, I don't have the time to do research. From the experience that you guys have, what would you say that would be better?
Add some more dynamics.
More dynamics, okay.
Accent, different
Okay,
parts.
add more accent as well. How specifically?
Like loud and softness.
Where?
Um,
You see, no, I'm picking on you because the answers, the questions have to be specific. The more specific we are, the better, you know. So maybe I can say, oh, I can make a little bit in the beginning, do a little soft, then loud, go soft, then do a crescendo and a vibrato or something. Right? So then we get to the technique. But the technique doesn't happen first. What happens first is the question. The question is like a portal. It opens many possibilities. So what other questions could I ask myself? So how can I improve my rhythm? Okay.
If you want to change the rhythm,
So
you want accents.
okay, so yeah, will you guys change the rhythm here? You see, these are change the rhythm. I mean, use more rubatos or not. Use more. So if you use, great. How would you? Then yes. Okay. It is getting a little. I'm trying to get you guys participating, but let me focus here a little bit more. Talking about asking questions and asking ourselves questions. So I'm playing, when I play here, I ask myself, okay, how can I improve this? Okay. And the first thing that comes into mind, it's like the phrasing, great, so I'll make the phrasing better. Then I finish, okay, what else can I improve? Okay, the tone, okay, great. Okay, what else can I improve? Always lots and lots of these kinds of questions. Then my practicing time, I use the time very effectively in this way. I don't keep playing and hope for the best things that work. I keep asking questions. And even if I don't know how to do it, I don't know how to improve the sounds, I don't know how to make the dynamic, I just use my instinct, my creative side, as the gentleman there said, you know, and I just do anything to do that. You know, and if I don't know, I'm going to use the resource, I'm going to ask a professor to tell me the technique. But again, we're talking about the general thing. You know, the questions are the things, and people don't ask themselves questions. You know, people, they just keep playing, it's cool, it's nice. But if you never ask, can it get better? It will never be. You gotta ask. Yes.
What about using imagery? You could ask yourself, what is the best possible version of this passage that I can imagine? And then
What an
try
awesome
to
question to ask.
rise up to that.
Great question. Because, so the creativity that you said, we can use about creating questions as well. You know? Or a question, a great question also, is like, how would I perform this passage if Sergio and Odaira started in front of me right now? I'm sure that would change the way you play. In so many ways, that much more if you said, no, I have to change the phrasing, I have to change the tempo, I have to change, because instead of thinking about those little things, we think about the question, and the question brings all these little things together. So if I was playing for Sergio or Odair, I would have a different posture, automatically. I would, you know, I would close my eyes probably, and I would feel more, you know. But you see, I already changed 3 things, all at the same time, just by one question. So this is why I think it's powerful stuff.
It seems like it's easier to talk about all the specific things you want to change when you're talking about just a short passage like you're doing. But what about when you're playing a whole piece? Because obviously you have to practice it all the way through sometimes. Do you still ask yourself all these specific questions?
So that great. Sometimes I do like general questions. For example, is the piece at my level? That's a question I ask. It's below my level? Great, it's below my level. Okay, how can I make it to my standards? The piece is in general. And then I play one more time, the entire piece, and if you see it's a little better. If it's not better, okay, so I ask, okay, what specifically is not making that possible? So I can fix that. And I'm very systematic about this. This is one way, I'm saying guys, there are many ways of practicing. This is just one way. So one day I feel like question, I'm the question guy, and I question everything. Another day I'll do other stuff that I'm gonna say. So don't think that I just do this. It's just one workout. It's like working on your biceps only. There's a bunch of other muscles you have to work on your body. So, and by rotating these specific practicing techniques, you never get bored of playing. You know, because we have to practice every day for many hours. So if you have just one approach, you're gonna get really bored. So I rotate those things. I have a bunch of those, and the questions is one of them. So to answer your question, I do general questions for sure.
One thing is like focus on being comfortable, but not only the chords and the positions being comfortable, but making the phrasing comfortable to you, because that might relate to your own personal artistic view. Do you understand kind of?
Yes.
Like making that phrase comfortable in your manner.
I like that. So what question could you use to make yourself feel comfortable?
Well, like dynamics and phrasing.
No, great. Okay, like, let's get to the point. What question can you ask yourself to make yourself play the dynamics and everything in a comfortable way, according to what you believe the music should like?
Play it easy to yourself.
What question?
Make it easy for yourself.
Okay. You're looking for a question.
Yeah.
I'll help you out. Help you out. No, that's okay. It's great. It's great. You just, this is new stuff. You're just brainstorming. It's great. So a question that I ask myself generally is like, if I'm playing a passage that is too hard, I said, how can I play this passage very good, you know, in my standards, and feel comfortable while you're doing this? Or how can I get, you know, how can I feel comfortable? Great. By asking this question, your body immediately like feels more comfortable. You can't help. Because a question is going to be answered. What we have here in our heads is like a huge computer. Imagine that every question you ask yourself, you're typing this on Google. And the answer is going to come back to you, even if you're not consciously aware. But your body reacts in ways that's, you know, we are not aware, and we don't need to be aware. Because if we are aware, again, we're going to be walking like robots.
You have an example that happened to you, like this passage is really hard, and you ask yourself, how can I make this passage sound like my standards, like an actual piece you play, and talk us through how you solve this problem?
Sure. I do this all the time, but let's see. Maybe I should do this in real time. You know, I'll try to. I'll play a passage, and if I see something, I play a little bit of a piece. If I see something that is not good, I'll stop and I'll do what I generally do. I imagine that I'm here by myself. Okay, let's keep watching. So I can It's not on my level. Why is not on my level? Because the sound is happening, but I'm not feeling that comfortable. My fingers are not moving so smoothly. So the question is, how can I play this with my fingers running more smoothly? This is, for me, it's not only about the sound, but it's also how you feel, how comfortable you feel. So I'm not feeling comfortable. Sounding good, I'm not feeling comfortable. So I said, okay, how can I feel more comfortable? One of the answers is slow down. Okay, slow down. And imagine that this part here is all connected to your body, to the arm and to this part here. Okay, so I have some answers. Okay, I can try them. So, feel better. Great. So, and then I play one more time. And then, okay, great. So let's see if it's there. It's a little better, but it's not there when I play fast. So the next step is another question. How can I feel the same way, but now playing fast? These will give you different answers. You know, that's how we think anyways. Thinking is nothing more than asking and answering questions. But we do it so fast that we are not aware of the questions we ask. And sometimes the questions we ask are not the best questions for us. Are questions like, oh man, why is this sucking? Or why is this so bad, you know? And we're gonna come up with those answers. And you're not gonna improve because you're asking those lousy questions. So more or less, okay, so concept number one was questions. So this is one of the practices here. Number two, Number 2 is very exciting actually, because this is more technical. It's the most technical of the concepts that I'm gonna share with you. So we all want to be playing in a way that is very accurate. Right? We want to have all the notes in there. And have you ever asked yourself, how is that possible? How is that possible that you have just one chance in the performance and all the notes are there for some people? Some people did just get the notes. How is that possible? You know? So I'm here to share, I'm going to share with you some of the one thing that I've been using for a long time, and I generally prepare for competitions using this thing. And when I need to be really accurate, I can really focus on that. But again, this is just another point of view. I use many things. This is just another thing. It's called a learning game. I like to call it this way. So number 2, it's called the learning game. So the learning game for me is this. It has to do with playing notes accurately. That's all it is. It's very specific. I need to play the notes accurately. That is the learning game. So if I'm playing a passage, so I'm gonna play a little bit of an arrangement that I was working on 2 days ago. So it's new, and so it's something that can actually work in real time. You know, I play a little bit until I find a mistake. When I find a mistake, I'm gonna use the learning game, and I'll explain what it is when it happens. Mistake here, right? So this is where mistakes happens. When a mistake happens, I stop immediately. So this is the first rule of the learning game. Mistake happens, you stop. Then I get that passage there. I isolate those 3 or 4 notes. Sometimes I make it very small like that. So I will just isolate the measure there. And I'll play one more time. Just that measure. Then if it's on my level, if let's talk about accuracy now. If it's accurate, it's accurate. All the notes are there. Then I repeat it 3 times. The number of repetitions you can increase depending on how much time you have for your practicing. So I play for 3 times, so 1 time. And if I mess up in the 3rd, I have to start everything all over again. With 3 times. So you see, I repeat 3 times. If I get it right in the 1st or the 2nd, but I mess up on the 3rd, do the 3 times again. So this forces me to focus like, oh man, I need to get this done, otherwise I'm not going to continue learning this piece. So this creates pressure. And pressure doesn't need to be bad. This is a good use of pressure. And the same kind of pressure we are feeling is the same kind of pressure we are feeling before a concert generally. And so you're also pressing for a performance, because you just have one chance there. It's very similar, the way you feel. So you're also pressing to perform in front of people by playing this as well. So I play 3 times. 1, 2, 3 times. Great. I get it 3 times, then I do a pause. It's very important. Like 3 or 4 seconds, I don't count, but it's very short. So if you write it down, I do a pause. And then I just have one chance now to get this right. If I get it right, I get the rewards of continuing playing the piece. If I get it wrong, I do the learning game again. And I can get stuck in the passage until I fix it. So there is a lot of pressure for me to make that work. So I play it again. Oh, mistake. 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Great. So now we pause. Remember, pause is important. Okay. Then I keep playing. But I got a mistake before. So, what is it? Sorry. So this is the point. I isolate this, repeat 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Then pause. And then when I play, I prepare, I feel there is pressure, it's just one chance. The same thing you feel before playing a concert. You know, like, you do deep breath, so then go. Great, I did it right there, but you know, mistake after. So,
What's your definition of a mistake?
accuracy, for now. For now, it's only accuracy. So if I play a note that is buzzing, it's a mistake.
Okay,
If I
so,
play the wrong notes, it's a mistake.
but if you don't hold it for its full value, that's not a mistake.
That is a
That's
mistake
just-
for now, because it's just mechanical. So if you need more time, you say, I'm not so sure, hold it, and you play the note, fine.
Okay.
For now. Okay? You can use these things for any standards that you have. For example, you want to use the learning game with your dynamics or musically too. I want to play this passage and it has to sound musically as I hear in my head. And then you have that reference and you play it. Even if the notes are there, but if it doesn't sound the way you want, you can consider that a mistake too. And then, but this is setting up higher standards. But most of us, we first of all need to get the fingers working before doing that. When the fingers are working, then you can use other things to be creative. This is more of the creative side. You know, that I use other things for creativity. But this is too systematic for being creative. It limits you. When you have like step 1, step 2, it may limit your creativity. It may give you accuracy, but limits your creativity. So I use other things.
Do you apply this method also to, let's say, longer segments that are a few measures long? Let's say the guitar position changes and I'm having trouble up here in the 7th fret. And so I would play this sequence, maybe 4 measures. You would do this not just for one single note, that's a mistake.
Yes.
But maybe for longer
Longer
segments. as
section,
well.
I do it, and that's when I want to challenge myself. So I may do like a section like this, you know. I generally mistake at, but that's the measure I'm mistaking here. And then, so I get it from the beginning, and I consider that one repetition. So it's more pressure. It's good too. And you may do this with your entire piece. It's like, I do a mistake, oh no, play the piece 3 times. That's how you're going to do it. There is a way of doing everything. It's not just magic. You know, it may look like magic when you get it done, but there is a step-by-step process that if you follow, you're going to get the result. There is no other way. You know, it's like science. That's the scientific part of music. The accuracy is scientific.
Okay, what if playing the learning game and you come to a section and it's a really technically challenging section and you do it, but you keep making the mistake over and over and your hands start getting really fatigued, and if you're just doing the repetition but it's getting harder and harder because your hands are getting so fatigued, does that happen? Or
Yes,
what do you
yes,
do?
great.
Yeah.
I'm actually happy you brought that up. There are 2 ways that I deal with that. First way, I like to also think about a concept that every person can do anything on the guitar if it is slow enough. Think about that. If it's slow enough, any person, not even guitar players, they can do it. Let's say, put your finger here and put your finger there, and they go there. Okay, great. Play now. They play. Okay, now go here. Take your time. Put this thing here and this thing here. Okay, and play. Now, if you have this, like a jump like this, it may take some time, but every person can do the thing. So that means that when I have a challenging passage, I really slow it down a lot. For example, I maybe I play the Appassionata, which is I consider to be a challenging piece. Let's get a. I'm not warmed up. It's a challenging passage. Let's put it this way. So I say, okay, slow. And you consider one repetition. And you can do the dynamics as well, the phrasing, slow as well, it helps, actually helps. The more you slow down your piece, you gotta imagine that you have like a magnifying lens in your the more you can see things. So the more you can see, like, how these notes get soft here, loud, soft, loud, soft, same volume, soft. So you start to get clear notes what you're doing. So that's one thing, and really slow down. The second thing, if that doesn't work, you have a bunch of bars, and then I say, okay, for today, I'm going to give you, you have a rule, like 3 learning games you use. If you can't solve in 3 learning games, you move on because you're not going to be able to solve that problem today. You're going to take you more and you'll get to solve it. So you have that rule in case that happens. See, this is systematic, this is very systematic, okay? The other part was a little philosophical, but this is really like step by step. The interesting thing is that there are people who are more towards being more systematic, and people who are towards more like, oh, you know, I just want to play the guitar, I want to be creative and let things happen. You know? And both ways are great, but you need to know where you are, where you stand, because both ways are going to require different techniques. And it's always good to challenge yourself. For example, if I'm an only creative guy, I just want to play the guitar, I don't want to be thinking about this stuff. It's good to challenge yourself, like with a learning game or something like that. But if you're too systematic and like, no, I play everything, you know, I have the step 1, step 2, step 3, but you're not that creative. You become, you know, this is what mostly happens, you know, with academicists. You know, they know the steps, they're very, but what is the artist? What is the artistic aspect? What is the creation? It's not there. So you need to balance. So you get something more philosophical, like, you know, why do I want, for example, you ask questions, for example, what do I feel when I play this piece? Or what could I feel if I play this piece? Sometimes you're not feeling anything. But if you ask yourself, okay, I'm not feeling right now, but let's imagine, if I could feel, what would I be feeling? See, this twist in the way that you use language can help you a lot. And it may sound superficial, silly, but it's very, very powerful. You just gotta be excellent questions makers. You gotta have a list. I have a list of questions that I do on the systematic side, but you may not want to. You may do other stuff. Just getting your head. Questions about the learning game? Yes.
Have you researched left brain, right brain functions at all with these techniques?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, because it just, the way you're talking about it is very specific to the left brain does the systematic whatnot, and then when you want the creative side, you need to switch to the right brain.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if...
Yes, I did my research on that, and that was what people used to believe 100% in the past. There is still more of that thing going, but now people are also looking at the brain as a whole, as
right.
well, you know, because everything is connected. And our brain has a lot of plasticity. That means that it's like real estate. Let me see if I can answer you this question by. In our brains, we have like a series of networks called like neurons. The neurons, they get together and they form synapses, which is like a cycle, you know, like a network. They just unify and they form a synapse. So every new information that you have, if you repeat that information, electric currents goes through that synapses one time and makes it stronger. So by repeating something, you're making it stronger in your brain. Your neurons are actually physically getting bonded more and more. So by doing this over and over again, you get stronger. But if you don't use it, that information, what starts to happen is that the network starts to separate little by little, and then it disconnects. Now, they never touch themselves to start with, but they get really far away, really far away. And then if you learn another information, those same neurons are going to use to do another formation. So that means that's why the brain is very plastic. You can have the same neurons doing different stuff depending on what you're using. So this is another thing you want to write it down. If you don't use, you lose. Right? So that's why if you're playing some piece and you don't play for a long period of time, you're going to forget it. So you have got to keep playing all the time. And I'm proud to say that I play sometimes for that purpose. I play in restaurants, I play in gigs, I play concerts mainly, but I don't mind playing in those places because also gives me the chance of practicing that network. Playing like many hours, one after the other, like always remembering stuff. So, yes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You put, I guess with alongside with some of the questions, what kind of limit, or if you do, on a piece that if you put in a learning game, like you said, then you're getting tired or whatever, but what kind of limit do you say, or do you not say, okay, I can't get them, so I'm just gonna have to do them the next hour or tomorrow, or?
The limit is like 3 learning games you can put yourself. Every person may choose differently. It's not set up in stone, okay? You can be creative about how you use the learning game. But my rule is like what I like to use. I do 3 learning games, 3 sets of 3. If I can't get it right there, I just do another day. But that rarely happens because if you do it slow enough, you can get it. Even if it's slow. If I get it slow, I can make to myself, okay, play this passage. That's just one chance. Great, I got it right, and I keep going at the speed I was before. You know, so you change the speed of that passage. That's why I don't like metronomes, but it's another story. So you change and you keep playing with it. So it's very flexible. Okay?
Question. How much would you say for the learning game, how much would you make speed part of that? Because I'm always kind of torn between speed or accuracy, or what's more important, or what should I focus on first?
Accuracy is first. Accuracy. Speed doesn't come, we can talk about speed in another opportunity. I have a bunch of ideas about speed as well. Speed doesn't mean that you can do a note really well. Speed comes from you doing a bunch of notes really well. It's not just one. You can make, it doesn't have to do with the speed of your finger. That's for one note. But how fast you can do 2 or 3, it depends if how they are inserted into your group. And for that to happen, the accuracy needs to be first. Otherwise, you're going to be playing fast, but always sloppy. Don't have both. Okay, should I move on to the third? So the third practicing technique that I use, you know, again, just another way of seeing things, is I play a piece of music. It is actually very simple, and I just sing it alone. Okay, it's very simple. People take it a lot for granted, but it really works. It makes you more musical. So if I have this piece here. So I would sing, you know. See how soft I was here? I would never guess this note was soft if I didn't sing it. Or if I guessed, I would be very academic, very like, I know the steps. This note is soft because the chord is this and it comes from that chord, but that's not art. That's the science. We want to be artists as well, not only playing notes perfectly, you know? So you gotta sing to see what comes naturally for you. And that's coming from what you were saying. How can you match the thing that you want to do? By singing, you give yourself the chance of knowing, first of all, what you want. Sometimes we don't know what we want. Sometimes you're like, I don't know how it's supposed to sound. Just sing it, give it a try. It doesn't need to be in tune, it doesn't need to be technique, it's just sing as you were talking. So this way, I made the first note louder. And the last a little louder. And then I replicate here. For example, here. It's a if I hadn't seen that, I would never come out. Do this. Or play everything flat. And then you don't sing, you just play. Here, I'm not sure how it should sound. So I sing. I have to get the notes too. To get the notes a little bit clear. And then, so I do it. It's pretty close with what I sing. See, in this way, I know what to do. I think we know more than we think we do. But we don't give ourselves the chance to actually take responsibility for that. By singing, you allow this to happen unconsciously. You're not thinking about, this note is strong, this one is weak, this is in the middle. No, this phrase is that. You're not walking like a robot. You're just being who you are. And your experience, everything that you hear, is going to be translated. It's natural. Just by thinking. Something to think about. Questions, guys, about these 3 ideas? Yes.
I have something to maybe add, like maybe like sometimes when I play it, I like try not to think about it too much, just to like enjoy it more, just to kind of have my hands do the work, my hands and like just my own personal feeling put into it.
Great.
Sometimes I overthink it and I get tired.
Yeah. One thing is important to notice is that it is not possible to not think about something.
Well, yeah.
Right? It is possible to change what you're thinking. For example, if I say to you, don't think about a pink elephant right now. You immediately saw the pink elephants in your hand. Even if I say don't do it, so our brain doesn't take things in the negative. It always takes in the positive. That's why we gotta focus on improvements, not on why it sucks and stuff like that. That's another reason for that. But in that case, just change the way you're thinking. You can use questions. You can also use another thing. You can add one more. You can use one more. So this will be number 4. Number 4. So we'll talk about this, so I'll add one more. What I like to do sometimes is use the words, actually three words. It's called act as if. So if I write this down, act as if. It's not questions. It's not a learning game. This is not singing. This is act as if. So maybe today's practice, I'm going to act as if I could play this easily. Or act as if I was being paid $1,000 to play this, and I just had no chance. How are you going to play this? What kind of pressure are you going to feel? Is that pressure going to be similar to what you're performing in public? You bet. So that's how you practice performing in public too. Besides also doing demonstrations, you can do all sorts of stuff, like simulations. That's what I meant. You can perform the entire concert by your own, bounce. Is that how you say it? Bow. Yes, bow. Like this, you can do this. Act as if I was playing a concert. Use act as if. Right? You talk about your pieces. Thank you everybody for coming here today, tonight. I'm going to play this and this piece. But in order for this to work, you really gotta use a very powerful tool called imagination. If you don't use your imagination, it's not gonna work. Einstein once said that imagination is more important than knowledge. It's more important than knowledge, guys. So, and he was right. Look at all the things he accomplished and all the contributions he gave to the scientific world. So by using my imagination, I can have to really vividly imagine that. There are people there. Even if there is nobody, there are people. So if I do a mistake, I'm not going to be, okay, I'll try that again. There are people watching. You see this, you try that again. You know? So you really you play a role in that situation. And who cares? Nobody's there, anybody's just you. Nobody's going to call you crazy. Right? So, yes.
Two questions. You were telling me, you were right, that we can not think about something. So during a real performance or recital, we have some specific lines of thought that you use while you were playing, like I'm gonna think about my tone, I'm gonna think about this during this piece or that piece or the whole recital.
Okay, so you're talking about public performances.
Yeah.
This is a whole new topic. It's a different thing. I don't use these things for performance. This is just for practicing.
Right.
Performance, I use other things. And I generally do my homework before,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that I control, not control, but I influence what I am. I focus more on what I'm feeling instead of how what things are. So, by the way, let me just say to you that all of this, I will continue mentioning, but just before I forget you, all the information that I'm sharing you, this is just a little bit of what I have available on my website. I do like, I created an online course, 30-day program called Pathways to Guitar Excellence. And you may ask me, why Pathways to Guitar Excellence? What is it? Because I had to have a name. Okay, so just call it that way. So, and it's a series of step-by-step things that you can do, including this conversation we had is one of the things that I maybe talk about that in one of the days. There are 30 of those days. There is a lot of information. Everything that I know about music, about technique, about guitar is there. It took me like 2 years and a half of my life to design it. And so you're going to find a virtual online book. If you want to read, you can read the material. You're also going to find the slides. I was going to show you a little bit of it for your projector, but it's not working. But you can access in my website, and there are some demos there. So there are some slides with my voice guiding you step by step, like a personal coach, like a personal trainer for guitarists. And there are also videos. So I show on the guitar how I do certain things, especially when I talk about guitar technique, because I have a different way of thinking about technique as well. So if you're interested in learning more about this material, you can check my website. This is guitarimpact.com. Very streamlined. And I invite everybody to get one of my CDs in that box. This is like a free stuff that I'm giving every single one. Hope you can make some value from them. And so, continue to answer your question. Talking about public performances, I focus on what I'm feeling before. So, because let's ask ourselves, why do people go to concerts? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Why do people go to concerts?
Enjoy the music.
To what?
Enjoy the music.
Enjoy. Great, I like that word. Enjoy. To enjoy the music. And what else? In person.
To learn.
To learn. Okay? Could be to learn.
Inspired.
To feel inspired. Right? So everything that we are talking, we don't have time to keep asking, but it boils down that people want to go to concert because they want to feel something. They're not there because they want to intellectually understand how it works. If they go there trying to intellectually understand how it works, that gives them what? A good feeling. They feel like, I'm smart, I can figure out why. In any case, it boils down to feelings. People want to have an experience. That's it. And so, and most people don't know this. They're not conscious. Everybody knows, but they're not conscious of this stuff. So, what I do, there is a rule. So, okay, so let's come back a little bit. So your job as a guitarist, as a musician, is to go there and influence the audience to feel something. That's our job with our music. Of course, the music we are the vehicle for the music. The music is the main, music does it by itself. You know? But, so we want to, people want to feel, I was going to say, there's some people there. Just a second. Yes, so there is a rule. If you want to influence another human being, because you can't control what people feel or not. It's not up to us. Everybody has their free will. Everybody wants, they have the choice to choose what they feel. But you can increase the probability of they feeling very good with their conscience if you feel it yourself. You can't influence another person to feel something if you're not feeling it yourself. You can't increase the probabilities of them liking if you're not feeling it yourself. You gotta go through the way first. You gotta lead by example. So if my goal is to have like the audience needs to get out of this concert feeling, passionate about this music, I have to feel passionate first. When I'm playing, I have to really, but I cannot like pretend I'm feeling. I cannot act like, no, it cannot be fake, It has to be genuine. And that's the confusion people make. If it's not genuine, it's not going to work. It's genuine. So again, you may use a question as well for this beforehand. It's like, how can I genuinely feel what I want to feel in these pieces of music? How can I genuinely feel? Immediately you're open to the idea. You may not know how, but you're open. How can I genuinely feel? And you keep repeating the question. If you don't know the answer, keep repeating. How can I genuinely feel right now? How can I genuinely? How can I genuinely? Then you get there by repeating over and over again the question. And once you are in that place where you have something to offer to the audience, because our job is to give to the audience. And we can't not give what we don't have. That's why we get a feel first. So we feel and we give. And if we give, the audience claps, for us. And what do we do with that? There are people who like, feel good. And then they fail, they go down. So what? You just give it back to them. Genuinely, you gotta be genuine. It's like, I don't need, and you give this back to them, and you make this, let's call this like a admiration thing to the audience. And this creates like a circle, They give to you, you give to them. And this is where charisma comes from. You get all this energy and give it back to them.
What I really liked was what you did on Wednesday, because you went through these different stages, also emotionally. Started out very serious, and then we went a little bit to Berimbau with Gabrielle. It was a little more upbeat, and then it ended up in the experimental piece, and the whole audience was kind of following along. In the end, I thought everybody was really upbeat and humorous. So everybody came along, because I think it was genuine, like you said. That was a good progression, I thought, of your performance, because it didn't stay at the same emotional level. It took the audience kind of for a ride.
Yeah, and I like what you said, because that's another reason that some people think. They think about, I gotta have just one emotion. Not one, you have to have a bunch of those. What do people want? So, of course, you want to give them pleasurable emotions. Sometimes you may give them something that's generally sad. If the piece is really sad, you must feel sad. We are performers, guys, right? We are not just finger-moving machines, right? So that's the artistic part. So if it's fingers, you work on fingers, learning game and stuff like that. But if it's not, use your resources. That's why I say your resources are much more important than any trick you have. Because this will give, everybody has a different way of showing other people that they feel passionate or that they admire someone. Some people may just have like, they may not smile that much, but you feel that their face feels like, there is something there. Other people, they just smile all the time. And it's natural for them. Other people, they move their body all the time like this, And they do like, other people are more outgoing that way. So that's why I'm saying, if you have the resources, you just be yourself, and the resources are gonna flow through your body. Well, we're getting to the end of this. I would like to thank you again for being here, and if you, we can keep going if you want to keep adding things, you know, asking questions. But I also understand there are people who need to leave if you need to leave. We have a concert coming up at 6, if I'm not mistaken. 7. Great, sometimes it's
10 after 5.
Oh, great. Okay, so we have some time if you guys want to stay.
I find it like, sometimes I find it hard, like I have, say, 4 pieces I want to practice. Or I have 1 piece I want to practice. Should I practice like 1 piece for 3 hours, or should I just take only a section at a time? Because I mean, sometimes I'll practice a piece for like 3-4 hours one night, and then the next day I'm like kind of burnt out, but I still have to practice it because there's still a lot I need to get to it. But then there's like, I get so mixed up because I have so many pieces that I need to practice. What's like the recommendation on that?
Well, I'm going to use your analogy because you're a bodybuilder as well, right? You work in the gym. It's great, you know, it's like a person has high standards for their body. And what do you guys do a lot? You do a lot of conditioning, repetition, right? You work in your biceps, you have a series of sets that you do regularly. And if you miss a day or 2, for 1 year doesn't make a difference, but if you keep missing all the time, you're not gonna get to the standard you want. So it's the same with the guitar. So there is a way of systematically organizing why you're gonna practice every day and making like a table of things that you do. And there is a way of doing this that is not boring. You know, there is a way of, because when people think I have to organize my practicing, so every Monday I play the bar, chaconne, Tuesday I play the other piece, and Wednesday then I play the chaconne again. So if people it may get boring after a while, you know, if you keep doing the same stuff over some time. So there is a way of doing spicing up things a little bit, which I discuss in my program. So if you're interested, I would recommend you to check that out. But it's again using your creativity, you know. So you gotta use what you have to achieve. For example, one day, that's what I'm gonna say. I'm not telling anything else, but so my answer for you, there should be a consistency. You should be playing consistently. You should write this down, but in a way that is not boring. There is a way. Okay, guys. So maybe we'll, because before, let's also give some time for people to get ready for the concerts, and if they need to go to the place and eat some things, which I'm gonna do. So yes.